Good morning. I'm your host, Hingle McCringleberry, with Fantasy Football, because we can't afford the O. Recap, and here we go, Week 1's recap. Starting off, we have the Monstars versus Defund the League. Old Glassleg, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey delivered shattering performances to set this Space Jam wannabe team towards their first win, scoring a whopping 145 points. If only Defund the League had more support from his RBs, this one might have been a rager, folks. Monstars will look to pummel poor Terry in Week 2, while Defund the League looks to enforce his parking spot versus Bush. On to our second matchup, Push the Pigskin versus I Threw the Beer. The Pigskin was aired out in this match, with JJ and TK taking in some massive points. The red-headed Wonder Boy could have potential at the belt this year if he keeps up this momentum, while the fantasy guru Davo will want to drink a beer after this matchup, but hopefully not get burrowed alive in Week 2 versus Curtis. Pigskin's Fincham looks to expand his W streak against Eons in their Week 2 matchup. On to our next matchup, Year of the Dog versus Top Gun. It was straight doggy style in this matchup by Shadilak, delivered a W in the champ's first game of the season. Top Gun aches came from 2 goose eggs, but the champ hopes to return back to glory in Week 2 versus that German GM, Steven Johnson. That Georgia boy done spent good money this past offseason as he seeks to chase the belt and bring in another win versus Judge Judy next week. And our next matchup, Judge Judy versus What You Doing, Terry? Well, Terry forgot to back up in this matchup, and Judge gave him a verdict that awarded G-Money the lowest scoring team in Week 1. Kenchella takes the easy W, and G-Money will do some soul-searching in Week 2 to hopefully score over 50 points. In one of our last matchups, Burrowed Alive versus You Can't Park There. Well, Kurt parked the W in this season opener, with both GMs benefiting off that crazy Steelers versus Bengals epic matchup. Will Curtis' Young Guns helped him cross the finish line? Will Bush's boys bounce back and deliver a W? Well, we'll find out in Week 2, folks. And our last matchup of the week, and of course the closest one, Death, Taxes, and Bumpkins versus Holocaust? Well, Tampa 4 Ians must have paid his taxes and avoided a Holocaust death in this narrow matchup between 2 teams with undervalued potential. With the closest matchup of Week 1, Mr. Johnson could have gassed his W, but in true Atlanta fashion, Bryce Edwards delivered a goose egg for the L. Both teams have a tough week up in Match 2, and we look forward to seeing all those next week. Well, in recap, Week 1 fantasy football didn't disappoint, and we're all glad for its return. Speaking of return, will we see What You Doing, Terry back here next week and maybe get a glimpse of that legendary fathead? Will the Monstars stay juiced? Will the Pitskins fly towards the belt? Will the dog get his bone? All to be determined in Week 2, and we hope to see you there. This is Hingle McCringleberry signing off for Fantasy Football, as we can't afford the O. Have a good week, folks.